Today we are going to talk about extended responses. So these are things that you're going to receive obviously on tests that you've done in class. You're also going to see these on the iLearn assessment. So it's something I want to talk about, something that we can work on and obviously do a little better than we have in the past. The first thing that you're obviously going to need to do is you are going to want to read the question that you receive. So if we look over here on the right, the question that I have is, did Johnny plan his attack on Bob, or was it self-defense in the heat of the moment? Provide 3 examples to support your answer. So that being said, we're obviously going to decide whether or not Johnny planned his attack or if it's self-defense. If you've read The Outsiders, you know that Johnny attacked in self-defense. He didn't plan to attack Bob. It was something that he did because Ponyboy was being drowned. So that is going to obviously be our answer. So you'll begin your response by answering the question. So our answer is Johnny's attack on Bob was self-defense in the heat of the moment. All right. So right there you have your answer. His attack on Bob was self-defense in the heat of the moment. Now you obviously need to also have 3 examples to support your answer. So we can have specific examples that we will bring up, and later on you will obviously support those answers. So what we're going to do is we're going to develop these as paragraphs. You're going to have your support that's going to answer or provide evidence towards what your answer was, and then you're going to cite evidence to support what your evidence is. So the first one that we're going to use is we are going to look over here on page 30. And on page 30, it starts to talk about how Johnny was beat up. So zoom in a little bit here. On page 30, it says, start right here. They had scared him. They had threatened him with everything under the sun. Johnny was high-strung anyway, a nervous wreck from getting belted every time he turned around and from hearing his parents fight all the time. Living in those conditions might have turned someone else rebellious and bitter. It was killing Johnny. He had never been a coward. He was a good man in a rumble. He stuck up for his gang and kept his mouth shut around the cops. But after the night of the beating, Johnny was jumpier than ever. I didn't think he'd ever get over it. Johnny never walked by himself after that, and Johnny, who was the most law-abiding of us, now carried in his back pocket a 6-inch switchblade. He'd use it too, if he ever got jumped again. They had scared him that much. He would kill the next person who jumped him. Nobody was ever going to beat him like that again, not over his dead body. So that information right there shows us it provides evidence that, this was self-defense. He was beaten before, and nobody was ever going to do that again, and that's why he carried the switchblade. So up here we have the evidence. It says Johnny was jumpy after the beating the Socs gave him earlier in the novel. Therefore, he was not going to let anyone hurt him like that again. Now this supports what our answer is. The problem is, what some of you will often do is that you give that evidence and you just assume the person reading it is just going to believe you. But you need to cite your proof from the novel. So the very next thing we have is on page 30, it describes why Johnny is so jumpy after the Socs hurt him. So this right here is support for your answer. This is one of the examples that supports the answer. You have given your support here. You have shown where that support is in the book, and then we've obviously explained why that matters, right? He was jumpy after the beating, and because of that, he doesn't want anybody to ever hurt him like that again. So on page 30, this supports your answer, right? So that's one of the examples. That's one of the examples that supports the answer. But you need to have 2 more, correct? So we can then, let's see here. We can then go over to page 47. So let me go over to page 47 here. And on page 47, it talks about how the Socs are drunk as they are coming up to them. Down here it says 5 Socs were coming straight at us, and from the way they were staggering, I figured they were reeling pickled. That scared me. A cool, deadly bluff could sometimes shake them off, but not if they outnumbered you 5-2 and were drunk. So, another proof that this was self-defense is that they were concerned that the Socs were drunk. And because they were drunk, they might make more horrible decisions. They might hurt them a little more because it's just a lot more dangerous. So another reason as to why it was self-defense is that the Socs were drunk, and this made Johnny and Ponyboy concerned that the Socs might really hurt them. And then obviously you're going to go here and you're going to say on page 47, it talks about how the characters, the Socs were drunk, and that concerned them. And then this obviously once again supports this. And then after this, you'll go down here, you'll have another support. You can go to page 49. Right, on page 49, it talks about how, you know, obviously they're being attacked, and we have Ponyboy drowning, and you can bring up that Ponyboy is drowning, and, you know, it's on page 49. And then you end with, therefore, Johnny attacks Bob in self-defense. So what you have is you have your answer. You've provided 3 supports here, and then you once again restated your answer. And that is one of the easiest ways to do extended response. We're going to build on that as we go, but this is a nice foundation. We will add more to the tops and the bottoms when it comes to writing paragraph forms, but I want to focus more today on, you have your answer. I want you to focus on these middle parts where you are providing evidence to support that answer and you are citing it in the novel. As always, if you have any questions, please email me on Canvas and I will get back to you. And I hope you have a great rest of your weekend.